One nation under a groove, getting down just for the funk of it. Can I get it on the... Wow!
As the election draws ever closer, you have more and more Democrats and leftists becoming increasingly worried that Kamala Harris is not going to win. She's got a dip in her poll numbers simply because she's doing the talk show circuit. She's going out there and giving interviews, and the American people can finally see that she is nothing but an empty suit, right? She repeats the same talking points over and over again, and it doesn't help that she's faltering in times of disaster, specifically here by going after Ron DeSantis in preparation for another hurricane to land in Florida. Check this out.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
For Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this, I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign.
The governor of Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing.
So here we have the complete humiliation of Kamala Harris. She's trying to interject herself into a story where she does not belong. Ron DeSantis is busy prepping his state for the next hurricane, and he's actually doing a pretty darn good job. And you know what? He's working hand in hand with the Biden administration. And even Joe Biden throws Kamala Harris's claims under the bus. Ron DeSantis is too busy for all of this political partisanship. And he points us out in a spectacular fashion to the ultimate fail of Kamala Harris. So how about, Kamala, you try being more genuine, try being more helpful instead of showing up for a photo op because of the horrible response to Hurricane Helene. So all of these things, of course, are coming together, which is ruining Kamala Harris's pristine public image that has been upheld by the leftist radical media. However, as I mentioned, even the leftists are starting to get worried because Kamala Harris is slipping. Check this out from the Young Turks.
Which is the electorate's clear displeasure with the direction that the country is headed in. Typically, the incumbent party suffers the consequences of that. And as you know, the incumbent party is the Democratic Party, with Kamala Harris serving as the vice president. In fact, Enton went so far as to say that if Harris won with those numbers, it would be historically unprecedented.
When the White House party wins, i.e. Kamala Harris's party, the Democrats, 42% on average think that the country is on the right track.
Now, Harris might have a slight advantage in that she's not Joe Biden, she's not the president, but I don't know how much of an advantage that really is, to be honest with you, Cenk. And you know, I remember when I was, getting my poli-sci degree, this was actually something that we learned in terms of American elections and American politics. We looked back at what tends to happen. And yeah, the electorate tends to retaliate against the party that's in charge if things aren't really going well in the country. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to play out for Harris, but I am curious what you think about how she's handled her campaigning in recent weeks? Because there's been a pivot, and I'm not sure that pivot's working out for her.
Yeah, I think she's going to lose the lead imminently. And then there's only a month left. So I'm super worried about the end of this election. So I'm going to tell you why in a second. But that point he's making about is the country going in the right direction. This is one of the reasons why I was absolutely positive that Biden was going to lose. He is the actual incumbent. There's no way to trick anyone into thinking he wasn't the incumbent and he wasn't responsible for the direction that we were going in. So his popularity and approval ratings were in the low 30s, totally unrecoverable, never happened in American history. When a country is people think that it's going in the wrong direction at this level, the incumbent has no chance of winning. And so that's why at the end, right before he dropped it, by the way, now they're trying to do revisionist history. Even now, some of the Biden supporters are like, oh, you'd be where Kamala Harris is right now. He was down by 8. It's nationally.
Yes, even the leftist Young Turks recognize that the Biden-Harris administration is so unpopular that the approval for the way of the country going forward is so low, there was zero chance for Biden to win, which of course is why he was ousted. But the problem is they replaced him with Kamala Harris, someone who's actually part of that campaign, someone that the American people are now being exposed to as being a crazy radical leftist. And there's nothing they can do about it at this point. And as Cenk rightly points out, he thinks the numbers are going to go even lower. Okay. But wait, there's more.
I mean, that excitement around her was very real. And the messaging that she put out in the very beginning of her campaign, I believe was successful because she provided excitement as a new candidate, of course. That's part of it. And there was a little bit of a honeymoon period, but she came out by naming Tim Walz as her running mate. Like, she was signaling that she was going to moderate certain elements of the left-wing policy that is not so popular, but kind of focused on like the working class messaging that I like, especially when she chose Tim Walz. But then she did like a big pivot away from that. Mm-hmm. And not only was it a big pivot away from that, she then started talking about how honored she was to get the endorsement of some of the worst, like, war criminals in the country, like Dick Cheney. Why are you campaigning with neocons?
So when she's framing herself as the change candidate, two things that helped a lot that we just discussed. One is, hey, I'm changing the race. The race was Trump versus Biden. You hated that race. Mm-hmm. Now you got a whole new race and a whole new option. Beautifully framed. Hey, I picked Tim Walz. No one expected me to pick Tim Walz. Tim Walz is the most real looking out of all these guys. The least plastic, least fake.
The most liked.
The most liked. And so, and the fact that she picked a progressive who actually got some things done in Minnesota, people were shocked by that. And they're like, oh, okay, change. Mm-hmm. She wasn't kidding. She meant change.
Totally, yeah.
Right? And she goes after price gouging. We know that everyone in the business community and all the donors hate that kind of talk. We're like, okay, look at this, real change. But when she goes back to sending out all of her surrogates, Mark Cuban and the others, all over cable news going, no, big business, don't worry. She's even more pro-corporations than Joe Biden was. You're like, ooh, that's not change. And then she goes and assures the military-industrial complex, don't worry, nothing has changed. I'm going to support Israel 100%. I'm bringing in the neocons like the Cheneys. Don't worry, no change.
So the Young Turks here, I think, are making a mistake. They're attributing Kamala Harris's supposed popularity to all of her leftist positions, when as a matter of fact, no, it was all purely the honeymoon period. It was all purely based on the fact that Biden was out of the picture. But now, of course, her leftist policies, which, by the way, the Young Turks think she's not going left enough, it's her leftist policies that are driving Americans back towards Donald Trump and are leading to her ultimate downfall, right? And of course, she's ruining her chances as being the change candidate by jumping right back in bed with all of the Biden policies, as we've highlighted several times on The View, etc. Okay, so as the American people get more and more exposed to what Kamala Harris actually is, her numbers, of course, start to decrease. And the right track, wrong track numbers speak volumes. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.